the main idea, the past memories which made Scrooge emotional. We went around and briefly spoke about that. Okay? Now what I want to do is expand a little bit into these bubbles. We'll put some main kind of a few topics that go with the main idea, but when you guys go to your desk and start working on your summaries, you're going to have to expand on each one of these. Don't copy what I'm writing in these bubbles, please. Yes?
Are we just like writing one paragraph?
Yes, yes.
Or like just kind of like brainstorming. We're writing ideas, but then we put them into.
Yeah, what we're doing here is summarize bubble map. That's exactly what, yeah, you have the right concept. You're going to take this and put it into a summary. You don't have to use more than 3 of the bubbles. Sorry, I like that. 3 of the bubbles, okay? So let's go in and try to fill in our bubbles a little bit. You can use more, you can use, at least 3. If you want to use more, that's fine. Okay? Jennifer, can you tell me what we can put in the first bubble about his childhood?
He was like,
He was where in the schoolhouse, right?
yeah.
So we can put lonely as a child.
Yeah.
Childhood was lonely.
Have any friends or anything?
Maybe for when he was a little bit, older, he was like maybe
Did he even have
So another thing that he saw in his past with the spirit is that he started to love money more than people. Right?
I got a question. Did Light just did he have like parents? Because it doesn't seem like parents. It seems like parents just like.
He had parents because he had a sister. Remember in the book where he said where the daughter where he went out because his dad was being mad at him. The sister came back and said, Dad said you could come back home. Remember?
So very unloving.
I don't remember.
So he just liked me.
Yeah, I think so. Scrooge chose his dad.
What can anybody tell me about who was Mr. Fezziwig and how did he play a role?
Mr. Fezziwig was Scrooge's boss, and he felt bad because he didn't treat his employees well, but Mr. Fezziwig treated.
Mr. Fezziwig was his previous boss when he was a young. What was one of the vocabulary words that we went through? He was a young blank when he was working with Mr. Fezziwig. Starts with an A.
I know. Adult.
Apprentice.
Apprentice. Oh yeah.
Apprentice.
I was about to say apprentice.
What does apprentice mean? Sam?
It means like you work for a boss
Yeah, you're working with someone, but you're trying to learn the trade. You're trying to learn. You're kind of like his right hand person. You're trying to learn his role of what he does, and learn exactly how that person does the job, so you can carry on. Yes.
But he felt bad because he was a boss and he felt bad for Bob Cratchit, how he treated.
Awesome. Good. That was the main point I was trying to get at. He felt really bad that he treats Bob Cratchit very poorly, right? I mean, he only lets him burn 1 coal at a time to keep warm. This is cheap. I mean, yeah, it's past cheap. He's just mean.
And he said that he was probably gonna make him work on Christmas.
Cheaper than Mr. Krabs. Okay, so what I'm gonna put something in here about Mr. Fezziwig
was cheap.
and comparison with Bob Cratchit. That's what I'm gonna put in here. Bless you. Okay?
And he said he was gonna make Bob Cratchit probably work on Christmas.
Yeah, he was at the
compares to Bob Cratchit, but that's just how Scrooge was thinking in his head. He was comparing how he treated Bob Cratchit as opposed to how Mr. Fezziwig was so supportive and kind to him. The other thing I wanted to point out about Fezziwig and put in another bubble is the fact that that whole party that he had, that Scrooge was in there watching, the Christmas party, besides the fact that he saw how nice he was treating everybody and he compared that to Bob Cratchit, that whole part of the book, he noticed a lot of things. He noticed a lot of poor people coming in and getting food. He noticed people dancing, smiling, children were happy. He actually just realized, hey, I used to be a happy person and I actually enjoyed to have company.
Because he was greedy. Now he became greedy.
And remember, I think they said Fiddler wasn't that good, but nobody cared. It was Christmas, so.
Oh my goodness, Sam, you're on a roll. That is a really good point. The Fiddler was out of tune, didn't even sound good, but people kept dancing and laughing and having a good old time because they were happy. They were joyful. It was Christmas. Exactly. It was more than content. They were very happy. They were enjoying Christmas even though they were poor, even though the music wasn't that great, even though they didn't have a lot of food and money and gifts and gold. But they were happy. And Mr. Fezziwig came up with that. Okay?
And even though.
What is another thing about that party that we mentioned shortly about money? What was that word that when he referred to Abdullah? What did he refer to as English money that he said it didn't no? Pounds. He said it didn't even cost a few pounds. He was thinking in his head, you know, that he just put in pounds refers to like dollars in the U.S. In London, pounds is money. In England. So he's thinking, hey, I can afford to do something like this, but I've just never tried to be that nice. Okay? Let's see. What else can we add to this? What did Scrooge feel when he saw, in the beginning, when he saw in the countryside, a lot of kids just laughing and being happy and merry and kind of passing by?
It made him feel he was very he was very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
He saw how happy they were and
Mhm.
but
He actually had a tear in his eye.
But then the ghost asked him, what is that? He's like, no.
Yeah, the ghost asked him, what's that on your cheek? And he kind of played it off like, I don't cry, I don't have emotions. But just that first glimpse of where he was raised, his childhood and everything, just kind of, from the beginning, he got really emotional.
Ever since Chico
He said it was
He said it was
bad.
bad.
This is from
Go, bro, go here. You said
Okay, and the last bubble I want to fill in is about, about Belle.
Yeah, I knew it.
Karina, can you tell me about Belle?
Belle, she was poor and she didn't have no money, and she didn't think that that Scrooge would like her because she's poor and she doesn't have no money.
Right, but was he like that at the beginning?
No.
Did he love her in the beginning when they made a pledge to be together forever and marry each other?
Yeah, because they were both poor.
They were both poor at the time when they met and fell in love. But money changed him. He became greedy. He became miserable. And she started to notice the differences in him. And she asked him, would you accept me if you met me now? Me being poor, you being rich. And he could, yep.
I'm like,
Yeah, he was like, what are you talking about? I don't think so.
like, I don't know about it.
You can just maybe if he said, I'd rather not say yes.
Okay.
It's just
Belle was poor. That's all I put in there. Okay. That's it?
That's how you spell it.
Oh, okay. That's all right. B-E-L-L. So Belle didn't have, I'm thinking of the Belle in Beauty and the Beast. I put a E in. Okay. So we're going to, I'll read this to you guys and then I'll instruct you what we're going to do next, okay? So we were on chapter 4. We read out loud. It was about Spirit Past. Spirit Past came and visited him. The past memories which made Scrooge emotional. That whole chapter was about past memories. Okay, can we be quiet? Started to love money more than people. Fezziwig compares to Bob Cratchit. So Scrooge compares Fezziwig to himself and how Bob Cratchit is being treated by Scrooge. Childhood was very lonely. In the schoolhouse, he was lonely. I mean, he had storybook characters as his friends to pass time that he kind of played in his head to keep himself involved and busy and happy. Childhood friends, countryside. That was right in the beginning, the first glimpse of his past. You know, when he saw all the kids running and playing in the snow, he was so happy. He said, this is where I was born, this is where I was as a child. Belle was poor. So Belle and him broke up because Belle was still poor and he was rich, and she thought that she wasn't good enough because she could see the difference in his personality. And the Fezziwig party. That was a good part of that chapter, was that party. The people that came in there. You have your books to refer to when you're working here, so you can look at that. There's a couple of pages about that party, and there was a lot of emotions for Scrooge during that party. Yes, ma'am.
When he saw the countryside first saw it, that's when he started crying and said he could walk his running board, and the girl said he wasn't better.
Exactly. That's when he started crying and he was very emotional. Okay? So, go back. I'll hand everybody notebook paper. Okay? I want the title. I want your name. I want the title to be Chapter 4, Main Idea. This needs to be your topic sentence. Okay? Did I say copy this as your topic sentence?
No.
You can put it in your own words. I don't want any of these copied in these specific words. These are just these are bullets of our brainstorming as a group, okay, as a class. What I want you guys to do is expand on this. It has to be at least a paragraph. It can be more, but it cannot be less.
Okay.
I need a topic sentence, a summary, and then at least a sentence to kind of close out chapter 4, okay? Any questions?
No.
This will be a grade, okay? I'll pull this and put it in the front so everybody can look at it because I know it's kind of hard to look. Okay, and keep your books on your desk so you have it to refer to. Okay. You guys can go to your desks.